Welcome to Exploring the Metaverse, where we explore the depths of virtual and augmented reality in the ever-expanding metaverse and how it applies to regular people. Today's guest, Negar Shaghaghi, co-founder and CEO of Auxuman, is founded in 2019 with a focus on building virtual beings, NPCs, and Auxuman has recently announced the next phase of its business evolution with the creation of auxWorld, the world's first no-code metaverse solution, and it's a metaverse creation platform that democratizes access and lowers the barrier to entry for creating branded metaverse experiences. Auxuman's comprehensive all-in-one platform offers a standardized toolkit that makes it easy for anyone to build native, high-quality, and customized metaverse experiences. Let's get into the episode. Awesome. Welcome, Negar. Thank you so much for joining me here on this podcast today. It's an absolute honor. It's a privilege. I never know, how things are going to go. We get these conversations, nothing practiced, nothing rehearsed. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you.
I appreciate it very, very much, you taking the time to be here today. Tell the listeners about yourself and maybe just right off the hop, if you just tell them about your special role in the film you participated in. No one knows about Persian cats.
Yeah. So I am originally Persian. So I was born and raised in Tehran, Iran, before I moved to London in 2009. At that time, me and an old friend, we were in a band. We were in kind of like an indie rock band, and it was all underground because in Iran, women can't sing, you can't play music if it's considered Western music, especially with English lyrics. Bahman Qobadi, who is a very well-known director, wanted to make a movie about the underground music scene in Iran. And me and my friend Ash, we ended up becoming the leading roles for the movie. The movie is essentially a docudrama about a bunch of people who want to play music and they can't, and they have to, jump through all sorts of hoops, and they sometimes get arrested, and so it's about rebellion against the system that doesn't really want to let musicians have a voice. So the movie went to Cannes. It won the jury prize at Cannes Film Festival, but it also made it, thank you, it also made it impossible for me and a lot of people that were involved in the movie to go back to Iran. So you could say that essentially I've been living in exile in the UK for the past 14 years. And I think what I wanted to also say is the kind of the rebellion that we saw in that movie at that time. Today, it's happening in the streets.
I've seen on TikTok. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So it's
I'm an ally. Like I stand behind the women of the world. I'm a nurse. Yeah. I have been married for 20 years. I have 5 sisters. I have a daughter. My beloved mother and every other woman around the world who are, the cornerstone, the foundation of the strength of civilization and society.
Yeah.
And I support this movement incredibly in any way that I can as an incredibly privileged, Caucasian male living in Canada. I mean, wow, it's I really thank you. Like, I really think that kind of work is so important. And for you to be away from your home, from your homeland for so long, in my eyes, my personal view, I think it's absurd. So congratulations
definitely
on being involved in something so important.
I mean, thank you. But I think the generation that kind of like the younger generation than me that are kind of in the streets today, they're even louder, more courageous and bolder. I think my generation, we were a little bit trying to, how can we get around this?
But you broke the ice.
They're coming outright and say like, hey, you know what? I don't want any of it. And what they're demanding is so much bigger than playing music. It's demanding, what's owed to them, the right to a normal life and, all aspects of personal freedom. So I'm definitely in awe and like very inspired by the younger Iranian generation.
Well, I think it's owed to them as well. I really do. It's very well said. And I think you got bigger and bolder things. I feel like overall, you sound to me like a big future thinking, forward moving individual, especially in this professional business of yours, being involved in the the virtual and augmented space. Tell us about this major company, this product. Explain to me. Auxuman?
Yeah, Auxuman. So
Auxhuman, yeah.
Auxuman is the name of the company. It's kind of two words put together, auxiliary and human. And
Oh.
yeah, it's kind of like
Hmm.
Auxuman started for me and my co-founders with kind of because we were very fascinated by virtual worlds. This is something that I have been after I finished my degree in philosophy. I was really intrigued by this idea of virtual reality, and not so much in the kind of hardware sense of it, but in kind of how can we represent the actual world or some elements of it virtually, and what kind of possibilities does that give us? And this is very much, the idea of digital twins, for example. If
Yeah.
I create a one-to-one replication of something digitally, essentially I can do so much to it. I can predict its future, and I can see what course it's going to take. And yeah, so I have been working in this space for a while. I was actually in a health tech company called Babylon.
Okay.
And I worked with Carolyn Hargrove, who is one of the first women. She was the co-founder of McLaren Applied Technologies, and she built the first Formula One simulation
Wow.
engine, which was really interesting to
Yeah.
work alongside her and try to apply this really big concept to something that is very accessible, your health. And it's kind of Auxuman is the same thing. So we think that when we think about conversations that we're having around the metaverse, regardless of how we define it, it's always in this need for a better, more immersive internet. So
Absolutely.
it really ties back in with, our virtual presence, our virtual existence. How is that going to be? So that was something that really excited us to start Auxuman. I can tell you a little bit about our product, which is auxWorld.
That's the website I
Um,
have open. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. We essentially think that our experience with the internet is changing. Um, game worlds or virtual worlds are becoming the new interface for us to interact with each other, with information.
I spent
Um,
12 years and 600 days of my life immersed in the world of Warcraft. And I can assure you
yeah,
that the customization of avatars is incredibly important to those people.
yeah,
And what you're saying to me is as clear as day, as if this is the most commonsensical thing that could possibly be described. But yet, when
yeah.
I speak such words out in the world, so to speak, people look at me with this kind of concerned look. Negar,
Yeah.
please continue. My apologies.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think part of that is because of how sometimes these ideas are inaccessible to people. And we at Auxuman, we believe that the true potential is unlocked when we give people the creative power to build what they want. Because if we're thinking about, oh, there is this new way, this new experience of the internet, and how so much of the internet is about self-expression,
Yes.
we can't preserve that power to create, for just some people. I always use this example of, like, imagine if YouTube, content on YouTube was just produced by just some people, and then
Yeah.
you were always the kind of like spectator, and maybe you had some kind of interaction through the comments and everything. But I think the future companies in the space need to think about, how do we give back that creative power? How do we give that tools for expression to people and allow them to do that? I have tried to create an experience with Unreal Engine. It's super difficult. So I'm not expecting anyone to, being able to like open up this kind of engine, try to like build this world. How can I quickly at low cost build a space for me and my friends, go in there, have some activities, and just have fun together?
Yeah.
Right now that doesn't exist, and that's what we're trying to build with auxWorld.
Thank you for highlighting to me what I think is incredibly important and for making it seem so in reach and so accessible, because something I really
Mhm.
I'm on about all the time on this show is that I want it to be able to be something that we can relate back to those people who are like non-technical. And I
Mhm.
really think that when we can make things accessible for those individuals, that we've
Yeah.
really unlocked it for the world. And
Yeah.
these straightforward ideas they're complex, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it sounds very easy, for me as an end user to be like, okay, sure, I'll create a character. But what kind
Yeah.
of work has gone into that to this point to get you guys where you are, and how is the path forward looking?
Yeah, so we are, as I said, we are very excited by trying to make it very accessible for everyone to come in. So we're no code platform. You can come in and easily create not only worlds but activities, because
Hmm.
I think that an empty world
Yeah.
where we just like have some representation of, maybe a coffee shop we're sitting, what's the point? What is the activity? And I think this is where we can learn a lot from gaming, for example. Why is gaming so much fun, and how we make virtual spaces fun? It's, how we rethink about
Yeah.
activities that people want to do. So I think it's all about that. And we have basically spent the past year very heads down. We have been quite stealthy, trying to really build a product that is very easy to use for the end consumer. And it's been an interesting journey. I think overall, just like the state of the world, so many things happening, and sometimes when you're building something, you're building in context of the world, and it's always interesting to see how externally things can influence you. But I think we've come to a point where we are ready to launch our kind of first version of the software. It's being launched soon. And yeah, people can, like, we're very excited to see how people come in and what are the things they doing, because we don't want to reserve that creative power for ourselves as a platform, and we want to give it to people and see what kind of chaos they come up with.
I couldn't agree more. Like, I really believe in what you're working on, and I see this as the kind of thing that my kids. I mean, I have younger children, an 11 and a 13-year-old, particularly, who they have full access to technology. I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
my kids have each had an iPhone since they were 1 year old. In fact, my
Yeah.
1 year old has an iPhone as well. And I'm
Wow.
the kind of modern parent who believes that if we give them the foundational technology and teach them
Yeah.
these skills from a young age, that they're starting from a point that I can only hope to achieve. And that's really their
Mm-hmm.
starting point. And when we talk about this platform that you're building and having that creative expression, I mean,
Yeah.
I see them already creating things in virtual worlds, and I just I can't wait. I'm excited, and I want to see more of it. And do you see,
Mhm.
sort of in like a social, in the world around us, in the sort of popular culture or
Mhm.
social world, do you see,
Yeah.
like, I know what I see, but how do you see the movement, or the
Mhm.
idea, the expression of the metaverse moving forward? Do you feel like it's getting more popular, less popular? Like, where do
Mhm.
you think it is on the spectrum, and how do you
Yeah.
think we're doing in moving things forward?
Mhm. Yeah, I think one thing in terms of how popular it is, how if we think about how metaverse is popular, it could be a difficult question to answer because we don't know exactly what metaverse is going to look like. I think one of the things that is exciting about this term is a lot of people are talking about it, but the reason that we're talking about it is not so much because we know what it is objectively and we're like, okay, guys, let's rush and
Yep.
get there. It's because we think that there's a need for a better experience. We think that we as human beings are not evolved to always be interacting with this 2D interfaces.
Yeah.
So we think that our experience is shifting, and I think there are indications that tell us that this is something that is going to be adopted in the future. For example, we can see that the 13 to 17-year-olds are spending a lot of their time on video games. And what's really interesting is that the reason that they spend their time in these video games is for connecting
Yeah.
to one another
That's
and
exactly
for
right.
for social, for expression, like socialization, expression. So it's not so much that, oh, I want to go and, shoot a bunch of zombies. It's more, I feel connected. I feel like I belong here.
You are right. Like, I'm a gamer. I speak from, I live streamed last night to about 85 people on YouTube. I mean, I don't play the game just for the game, but for that energy and that exchange, that experience between people. That is my, dare I insult the real world? It is nearly my favorite social experience that I have. I plan my entire day and my entire life for these moments. And but the thing is, it's predefined for me. There's nothing that I can change. My avatars, my experience, the whole thing is determined by, quote unquote, the company, and seeing where Auxuman is working towards giving me the power to change the experience. I'm playing in a golf world. Okay. I like to play this little golf game, but the course is always predetermined. The clubs and the balls and the environment is all predetermined. And sure, I enjoy it, but I would love to kind of have a special event for myself and for my friends that I could set the parameters. I could design the circumstances. And is that kind of where you're heading?
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is very important. If we think about, other platforms that have non kind of metaverse platforms like Netflix, for example, or even our experience of the internet. My experience of internet is very different to yours. When I open my, social media, like my news feed, or even like what Google suggests to me, it's all kind of personalized and tailored. It's my own little bubble. And I think what we don't see with a lot of metaverse experiences is they're mostly still being built by big gaming companies, like, your Roblox, Minecraft, and all of that. So it's kind of, you still use them to express yourself, but it's via that closed platform. So you don't really have that power yourself per se. And I think that's what needs to open up. It's kind of like the metaverse is what you make of it. It's what you do with it that defines what it is going to be for you, rather than me coming out and say, hey, I'm claiming that this is the metaverse. Now let me convince you to come into my world.
Well, and you're simplifying that coding and creation process in a way that people don't need to become a major expert in the field to participate.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's so fun. So do you think this is going to become, as synonymous as a smartphone or a laptop in everyday life?
Yeah, I think so. And I think actually that example of smartphone is if you think about photography, for example, and Instagram. So before, you wanted to take a photo of nature, you had these DSLRs, and you would go and you like take a beautiful photo, and then Instagram came, and it was kind of like for people who take this kind of artistic photos. But then you have your phone, and it's so easy for you to take a picture. Why should I always take a artistic picture? I want to take a picture of what I'm eating. And then suddenly all of those kind of like hand in hand led to this phenomena of influencer culture, for example. So I think the metaverse inevitably will go through that same course, and it will be first like, hey, these are the kind of prescriptive things that you can do with it, as you said, and then it's kind of be like, oh, now technology is allowing us to do it. Hardware is progressing, compute power is becoming better, and we have more things technologically at our disposal that we didn't have. And I think that's when we start thinking about products that are kind of for the sake of the end consumer. And more and more we'll see iterations, companies trying to think, how do I utilize this technology? How do I take it to every home? How do I make it accessible? And then that's when we will see this mass adoption. But I do believe because a lot of, especially the younger generation, are essentially answering to a lot of their needs in this gaming world, it's not so far to imagine that it will grow to include more aspects of life.
Yeah,
essentially.
I completely concur. To me, watching my two children go online at the beginning of the pandemic and seeing the spectrum of accessibility in my upper middle class neighborhood. And my children, because their dad happens to be a nerd, have webcams and headsets and dual monitors. Like, my mother's appalled. I mean, quite honestly, Negar, it's like, however, once the world shifted and they had no other choice but to participate in an online manner, they jumped right in. They were seamlessly integrated with such little difficulty. But yet I see some of the kids in the class, first of all, couldn't even access school at all. But then there was the ones that maybe had, like a really old tablet with low resolution and this difficult, this really difficult path to something that to me should be accessible to everyone. Is there any projects or ties that you and your company have towards broadening this access to those who are marginalized and have a difficult path to access to this technology?
I think you bring up a really good point, because we shouldn't expect, especially when it comes to gaming, like high resolution, AAA quality. We really believe that it shouldn't be, only through this like really heavy downloads, or, like you need consoles and a lot of things to make that. So the way that we're thinking about it is it should be as easy as, opening up your phone and just being there. And we're working with a lot of, we have a partner company called Orbit, for example, that are working a lot on this infrastructure and compute. That how can we bring a very high quality, high fidelity, AAA quality of gaming, but without you having to do anything, because we don't want people to spend time to get into these experiences. Everyone is competing for that timeshare.
Yeah, that frictionless access is important.
Exactly. Like if you think about, all these big gaming companies, what are they competing? The units that they want to sell to people, and for you to download their game, to be in their environment. And it takes about like 10 to 12 minutes to switch between one game to the other. So what if you didn't have to wait? How much timeshare would that open up for everybody in the ecosystem? So you jump into your experience. Imagine like if every time you wanted to load your Twitter, you had to wait for 15 minutes to get the latest download of the news, and then it would go out.
Yeah, people wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Exactly. So it's not going to be sustainable to have that kind of barrier for people, and we're really trying, working with our partners to remove those barriers for people, for sure.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to try your products more. And I think it is a product at the end of the day, and there has to be a monetization plan in place. Otherwise, I mean, we all understand that companies can't always operate at a loss. How would people access this platform, and what kind of cost, or like what's the plan? What's the real access point for the individuals, and how can we expect to interact with this type of world?
Yeah, I mean, our experience is going to be free to play, so people can come in and experience it. And I think it's important. Cost is one thing that might make an experience inaccessible, and it's really important to give people the kind of the reassurance of what they're getting into. I think a lot of companies make what to me is a mistake of kind of like gating their experience. Either that's with tokens, or you need you create some kind of barriers,
multi-level or currency schemes and different gems and tokens, and it's too much, right? We just want to play. Like, hi, I'm representing the gamers here once again, and we just want to play.
Exactly.
And a place to play. And if we can provide that in an accessible way, something that people from around the world with varying levels of technology can access, I don't see how you can go wrong.
Exactly. And this is an old old problem. Even in like designing for apps, you want like your consumer to get like to the experience fast. If you have like 10 layers of like, oh, you need to subscribe, and now you need to like confirm your email and come back, you're like, okay, you've lost me now. By this time I'm gone. So I think it's really important to, yes, make it accessible, have people see what they're really coming into, and then if they like it, there could be monetization routes down the line, and then exactly why I'm paying this fee, why do I want to own this asset, and it's all in the favor of you kind of like augmenting that experience for you. And and that's where you can kind of like create very healthy ecosystems between creators that might be creating assets, for example, and users who are coming and wanting to access that, and it becomes a more kind of healthier economy.
This is what I'm thinking about. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I'm a YouTuber too. These guys might not know that, and I'm not here to plug my channel, but to think about that broad creative experience where I could actually interact with my audience, and I could literally create an event. I'm for some sort of celebration or a gathering or some sort of purpose, and to be able to create not just an empty room that we can gather in with spatial audio, which is fabulous, but then what are we going to do when we get there? And I just feel like the pieces are coming together. And even though I feel like the metaverse, like in my experience, I mean, I'm a 41. I was in high school when the internet was born. So I've literally lived the life of the internet so far. And to me, back in 1999, when I talked about how awesome this new internet technology is, not to sound like a boomer, kids, but it's true. But now I think that the metaverse, the concept of that, and these different avenues that companies such as yours are establishing, it's really at the beginning. And I think that might be a confusion for some folks, is like, we're not even in the beta testing, so to speak, as far as the broad picture of this next generation of online experiences. Where do you think we are in that sort of spectrum of progress and development to, what we might consider a final product, or sort of a really polished end user experience? What's the timeline looking like on your end?
Yeah, that's interesting. And as I said, I think one difficulty in doing those kind of predictions is, if we knew what is it going to be down the line, it might have been easier to break down the steps and say like, hey, we're like 10% of the way, or we're like, yeah, we've made a lot of progress, now we're at 20%. I think it's always going to be like the internet. We're going to look back and see the little things that shaped it. And I think a lot of people are doing little things, and I don't really believe that there will be a point where there's this moment that we could look at, before and after, and say this, this was the moment where metaverse happened. I think it's a process, and we are. I think technologically we are at a place where we can improve experience at least 10x. We can give people a better experience because we do have tools. It's not like we're blocked on technology. Yes, technology is always progressing. Things will always be better. There will be cheaper, more cost efficiency, in terms of infrastructure, experience, iterations will happen. But I think right at the second, what I'm thinking about is there are ways that I can contribute, my company can contribute in making that experience better. And I think we need to think along those lines. And then, 10 years down the line, we will look back and say, these were all the things that shaped what we may be calling the metaverse.
Wow. So well said. And really, the foundational idea of why I started this podcast, because I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm interested. I'm curious. I want to investigate. And, to speak to leaders such as yourself who are contributing each of these important pieces, I want to be able to look back in several years and see this list of incredible humans, which is, you happen to be the 10th person here on the podcast. Thank you very much. It's a pivotal moment for me. And, it really is incredible. Tell us about any upcoming milestones, events, news, hot topics from your desk that maybe you wanted to share with the listeners. Let them know what to expect and what exciting things are on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a major launch coming up on one of the largest hardware distributors. I can't say much at this point, but I would encourage anyone who is interested to sign up on our website. If you want to be one of the first people who create with auxWorld, the best thing to do is to go on auxworld.app and sign up and yeah, stay tuned. Big things are coming. As I said, we are gearing up to launch first version of our software very soon, and we are very excited to put this in the hands of people.
This looks really cool. I'm looking at your video on the website. It looks fantastic. Auxworld.app. I mean, this is good stuff. I'm happy to be here. I really appreciate you being here. Is there any
Thank you.
way that your community, our community, can get in touch, can stay in touch, follow you on social media? Any other ways that these passionate folks can stay in touch?
Yeah, for sure. I'm on Twitter myself, but to stay tuned with auxWorld news, I think the best way is to just get in touch with us on the website. We would love to hear with anyone who think that there's a chance of collaboration, or they want to be one of our creators. Yeah, please don't be shy and reach out. That would be great.
Thank you, Negar. It's absolutely my pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode, because I know I sure did. It was such an honor to speak with Negar. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to email them to me directly, exploringthemetaversetogether@gmail.com. You can also jump onto the Facebook page. That's Exploring the Metaverse on Facebook. And we do have a YouTube channel as well, which is just getting off the ground. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you so much for listening.